How do you prove you gave birth to your own child when science itself calls you a liar? It started as a harmless Christmas joke. My husband, Ryan, bought our entire family home DNA testing kits, the ones you mail to a lab to discover your ancestry. We laughed, swabbed our cheeks, and sent them off. We expected to find out we were 10% Irish or 5% Scandinavian. Instead, 2 weeks later, an email arrived that completely ripped my world apart. The maternity index for my 3-year-old daughter, Chloe, came back at exactly 0.0%. According to the genetic data, I was not her mother. Within 24 hours, the man I loved looked at me as if I were a deceptive criminal. My mother-in-law, a powerful chief of surgery at the city's largest hospital, used that report to launch a brutal legal assault. They accused me of secretly using a donor egg. Worse, switching a baby at birth to secure Ryan's massive family trust inheritance. The descent into hell was instant. I was stripped of my custody, fired from my position at the university due to the public scandal, and evicted from my home. For 3 grueling months, I was an outcast, a mother living in a cold, isolated apartment, drowning in a sea of tears and confusion, questioning my own sanity. I knew I carried Chloe for 9 months. I knew I gave birth to her. But how do you fight a genetic code printed on official lab paper? Before I tell you the agonizing details of my exile and the brilliant, terrifying medical fraud I uncovered that turned the tables and threatened to dismantle an entire hospital empire, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments, which country or state are you listening from? Let's go back to where the trap was first set, to the family trust that made my bloodline a target.
My husband, Ryan, came from medical royalty. His mother, Dr. Victoria Vance, was the chief of surgery and a major shareholder at Vance Memorial Hospital. She was a cold, calculated woman who controlled her family with an iron fist. To Victoria, family wasn't about love. It was about genetic legacy, prestige, and old money. When Ryan married me, a high school biology teacher from a working-class background, Victoria made her disapproval crystal clear. At every family gathering, she would subtly remind me that I didn't belong. "It's so fascinating, Clara," Victoria would say during a Thanksgiving dinner, swirling her wine. "Your family has so many historical struggles with health and finance. In our family, we track our lineage back generations. We protect the Vance bloodline. It's a matter of biological superiority, you see." Ryan would always tell me to ignore her, but he was weak against his mother. The real trouble started when Ryan's billionaire grandfather passed away. His will contained a strict, old-fashioned clause. The bulk of the $25 million family trust would only unlock and transfer to Ryan once he had a biological child to carry on the Vance name. When I gave birth to our daughter, Chloe, the joy was immense. The trust fund was unlocked, and we moved into a beautiful estate. Chloe was the light of my life. She had Ryan's dark hair, but she had my grandmother's distinct green eyes. For 3 years, life seemed perfect, until the day Ryan brought home those Ancestry DNA kits. "Just for fun, honey," he smiled, kissing my cheek. "Let's see where our genes come from." We did the swabs, sealed the vials, and mailed them. I didn't think about it again, until a Tuesday afternoon when I was at school grading papers and Ryan phoned me. His voice didn't sound like my husband. It sounded like death. "Clara, you need to come home right now. My mother is here. We have the results." When I walked into our living room, the atmosphere was frozen. Ryan was sitting on the floor, staring at a stack of printed papers. Victoria was standing by the fireplace, her arms crossed, looking at me with a terrifying expression of pure, vindictive satisfaction. "Read it," Ryan muttered, refusing to look me in the eye. I picked up the paper. It was an official genetic profile from the testing corporation. Ryan's paternity test was a 99.9% match. He was Chloe's father, but my maternity profile was a flat, cold 0%. "This is a mistake," I whispered, my hands starting to shake. "Ryan, this is a glitch in the lab. I gave birth to Chloe. You were in the delivery room." "Don't play innocent, Clara." Victoria stepped forward, her voice dropping like a guillotine. "As a physician, I know science doesn't lie. A mother cannot have a 0% genetic match with her own child. You either used a hidden donor egg because you were barren and wanted my family's money, or you switched the baby. You are a fraud." "Ryan, look at me," I screamed, dropping to my knees in front of him. "I love you. I swear on my life this is a mistake." But Ryan was completely brainwashed by his mother and the piece of paper. "The data is right here, Clara. My mother ran the raw data through her hospital's advanced genetic sequencers, too. It's confirmed. You lied to me. Get out of my house." Within 2 days, Victoria's high-priced lawyers moved with terrifying speed. Because the DNA test proved I had no biological connection to Chloe, and because they accused me of fraudulent misrepresentation to secure trust fund assets, a judge issued an emergency order. I was stripped of my custody. I was banned from entering my own home. The scandal spread through our town like wildfire. The school board suspended me from my teaching job, stating they couldn't have a woman accused of child switching and fraud teaching young students. Overnight, I became a pariah. My friends blocked my number. My text messages went unanswered. I was forced into a tiny, run-down apartment on the edge of the city. I spent my days staring at photos of Chloe, crying until my throat was raw. Every night, I woke up screaming from nightmares of my daughter calling for me, while Victoria's cold hands pulled her away. I was drowning in an agonizing, deep depression, completely gaslit by science itself. 2 months into my exile, I had reached the absolute bottom. My savings were almost gone from paying a defensive lawyer who kept telling me to give up. "Clara, you can't fight a DNA test in a court of law. The judge will never rule in your favor," he had said. I sat on the floor of my dark apartment on a rainy Thursday, holding Chloe's little pink blanket, contemplating ending the suffering. The world had decided I wasn't a mother. And then, at 9 p.m., my doorbell rang. I opened the door to find a young, nervous woman standing in a wet coat. She looked terrified, constantly glancing over her shoulder. I recognized her instantly. It was Dr. Hannah Ross, a junior geneticist who worked directly under my mother-in-law, Victoria, in the Advanced Research Lab at Vance Memorial Hospital. "Clara, please let me in," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I shouldn't be here. If Victoria finds out, my career, my life is over." I stepped back, allowing her inside. "Hannah, what are you doing here? Haven't you people taken enough from me?" Hannah collapsed onto my small sofa, pulling a thick manila folder from inside her coat. "Clara, I've been watching what they are doing to you in the news. I can't sleep. The guilt is eating me alive. I took an oath to protect patients, not to help a psychopath commit a felony." She opened the folder, revealing complex medical charts and barcode registries. "Your DNA test wasn't a glitch, Clara. Hannah said, her eyes wide with fear. It was a targeted clinical assassination. 3 months ago, before Ryan bought those kits, Victoria ordered me to create a synthetic genetic profile. She had access to your medical records from when you gave birth at Vance Memorial. She took your blood samples from the hospital archive and used a high-level CRISPR gene editing sequence to alter the specific maternal markers in the reference database. I stared at her, my breath catching in my throat. What? Hannah explained rapidly. Victoria knew Ryan's grandfather left the money to Ryan's biological child, but Victoria never wanted you in the picture. She found out that Ryan was planning to move you away from the city, away from her control. So she designed a plan to remove you permanently. When your DNA kits were routed through the Vance Memorial Regional Testing Hub, Victoria manually swapped your vial's barcode with a pre-prepared synthetic profile that had a 0% match to Chloe. She forced me to sign off on the lab verification. Hannah pushed a flash drive into my hand. Everything is in here. The original, unaltered genetic data proving Chloe is 100% your biological daughter. The server logs showing Victoria logging into the genetic database at 2 a.m. to switch the barcodes, and the financial receipts showing Victoria transferring $50,000 to an offshore account to buy my silence. Sarah looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Clara. I was scared of losing my job, but when I saw you lose your daughter, I realized I couldn't be a part of this evil anymore." A freezing electric rage instantly replaced my months of sorrow. Victoria hadn't just lied, she had weaponized the very field of medicine to commit a horrific act of psychological violence against a mother. The final custody termination and asset fraud trial was set for the following Monday. Victoria and Ryan sat at the front table, surrounded by an elite team of defense lawyers. Victoria looked like an empress, dressed in a flawless white designer suit, completely confident that she was about to erase me from the Vance bloodline forever. Ryan sat next to her, looking pale and miserable, but completely submissive to his mother's shadow. The judge hit his gavel. "We are here to finalize the parental termination of Clara Vance. Does the defense have any final evidence before I sign the permanent order?" My new defense attorney stood up, entirely calm. "Yes, Your Honor, we would like to call an emergency witness to the stand, Dr. Hannah Ross, senior geneticist at Vance Memorial." The moment Hannah's name was called, Victoria's perfect posture shattered. She snapped her head around, her eyes locking onto Hannah with a terrifying, threatening glare. But Hannah walked past her, took the stand, and took the oath. "Dr. Ross," my attorney asked, "can you explain the genetic report that claims Clara Vance is not the mother of her child?" Hannah took a deep breath, looking directly at the judge. "The report is a complete malicious forgery. It was ordered and orchestrated by Chief of Surgery Dr. Victoria Vance, who used her administrative clearance to hack the laboratory database and swap Clara's biological markers with a synthetic template to simulate a non-maternal match." "Order! Order!" The judge slammed his gavel furiously. My attorney stepped forward, flashing the contents of Hannah's flash drive onto the courtroom's massive digital screens. Your Honor, we are submitting the raw network audit logs from Vance Memorial Hospital. As you can see on the screen, Dr. Victoria Vance's personal biometric login was used to alter the barcode registry on the exact date the DNA test was processed. We also have the original, uncorrupted genetic data verified by an independent federal lab yesterday, proving that Chloe Vance is 100% biological match to her mother, Clara. Ryan stood up from his chair, his face completely distorted in shock. He looked at the screens, then turned to his mother. "Mother, You altered the lab results? You told me she cheated on me. You told me she stole our baby." "Ryan, sit down. She's lying. It's a conspiracy to ruin our hospital's reputation," Victoria screamed, losing her composure for the first time in her life, her face turning purple with rage. "Silence!" the judge roared, slamming his gavel down so hard the wood cracked. "Bailiffs, secure Dr. Victoria Vance immediately." The judge looked down at the digital evidence, his face dark with absolute horror. "This is a monstrous violation of medical ethics, public trust, and criminal law. I am immediately dismissing all charges against Clara Vance. Full, unmitigated physical and legal custody of Chloe is restored to her mother immediately." The judge pointed a trembling finger at Victoria, who was now being surrounded by 3 armed bailiffs. "Dr. Vance, you are being placed under immediate arrest for tampering with evidence, medical registry forgery, corporate fraud, and grand conspiracy. Federal authorities have already been notified to seize your hospital records." The fallout from the Vance family conspiracy was catastrophic. Dr. Victoria Vance was permanently revoked from her medical license, and she was stripped of her title of Chief of Surgery. Following a massive federal investigation into Vance Memorial Hospital's laboratory practices, she was convicted on multiple felony counts and sentenced to 15 years in a maximum security federal prison. Her name was dragged through every medical journal and newspaper in the country as a symbol of ultimate corruption. Because the hospital's stock collapsed due to the scandal, the board of directors forced the Vance family to liquidate their shares at a massive loss to pay for the multi-million-dollar civil lawsuit my lawyers filed against them. As for Ryan, he spent weeks outside my apartment, crying on his knees, begging me to understand that he was a victim of his mother's manipulation. He begged for a second chance to be a family. But as I held Chloe tight in my arms, listening to her laugh, I looked at Ryan and felt nothing but pity. "You had my love, Ryan. You had my trust," I told him coldly as I handed him the divorce papers. "But the moment a piece of paper told you to stop being a father and a husband, you chose your mother's shadow over your own daughter. You don't deserve to be in our lives." The court awarded me the entire family estate, full custody, and a massive portion of the remaining family trust assets to secure Chloe's future. Hannah Ross was granted federal whistleblower protection and is now running an independent, ethical genetic research facility funded by my foundation. Victoria thought she could use her wealth and scientific power to rewrite reality and erase a mother from her bloodline. But she learned the ultimate law of nature. Science can be manipulated by greed, but a mother's bond is written in a code that no corrupt machine can ever delete.